This I know is the song of a centuries-old redwood tree. This tree has witnessed the unfolding of a history with parallels in many regions of the world, from the forests of the Himalayas to the drylands of Australia to the tropical Amazon. This I Know is a song which arose out of deep feelings about the legacies of frontier colonialism and the urgency of reforestation today. A great many of our encounters with the world's ecosystems are replete with deep feelings or deep emotions. These ecosystems have given us some of our most profound experiences of tenderness, joy, fear, pain, love, and awe. At times, they bring us bittersweet peace or somber elation, the curious meldings of emotion which occur when we are living deeply. And they instill in us the very vital sense that we are elegantly, mysteriously linked to life beyond ourselves. Deep feeling has, for millennia, been a cornerstone of environmental cosmologies and stewardship practices in societies across the globe. Enlightenment ideology might tell us that emotion is fundamentally separate from intellect, that feeling is anathema to knowledge, but world history tells us this is not so. Through sophisticated artistic and spiritual systems, people in indigenous, traditional, and syncretic societies around the world have affirmed that ethics of sustainability are intricately linked to feelings of wonder and kinship. Such wisdom calls into question one of modernity's most persistent binaries, that between nature and culture. Through music, and inspired by the millennial wisdom of others, I hope to affirm the connection between nature and culture by conveying deep feelings for the environment, which are often repressed, overlooked, or ignored. Deep feeling also provides the impetus for environmental education and awareness raising. In that sense, it has profound geopolitical potential. Feeling deeply for the non-human world motivates us to care about geopolitics. It motivates us to ask, what are the historical and contemporary forces which have organized power along geographic lines? How have certain attitudes towards the environment produced scourges such as colonialism, anthropocentrism, plunder, and patriarchy? Deep feelings are therefore a very important part of the process of geopolitical understanding, especially in a time of climate change. The original music, which I would like to introduce you to today, emerged in many ways as a response to the marginalization of deep feeling, which I encountered when I first started studying and working in the field of environmental politics. As a policy student and environmental communications consultant in Washington, D.C., I observed that the emotional experiences of those affected by climate change, including in my home island of Puerto Rico, were rarely a topic of conversation or concern. Almost without exception, those living outside of the United States or Europe were indiscriminately grouped together as the developing world. These peoples and places were not seen as important sources of environmental wisdom and activism, but rather as benighted locations which were ill-prepared for the challenges of climate change mitigation and adaptation. A little later, I began to see that this invisibilization of the feelings, knowledge, and agency of the non-Euro-American world occurred in some of the planet's most rarefied academic and political circles. The environmental experiences of ordinary people across the globe, and emotional experiences in particular, were seen as only tangentially relevant to the study and practice of environmental politics and environmental decision-making. This seemed especially true at an international scale, where concepts gleaned from economics and political science provided the common language. And in that language, music had no place. But musicians know very well that direct emotional experience is not irrelevant. On the contrary, it provides the very foundation for what we do. We also know that such experiences form the basis of some of the deepest connections across borders. We are therefore actually very well placed to work towards a more just and ultimately more inspired environmental politics. Music may be seen as a profoundly transformative emotional geography in and of itself. It is a way of expressing relationship to place and to other living beings with beauty and power. Music is therefore very important for the world's people in times of climate change. We need music, perhaps now more than ever, to make sense of the changes which are occurring around us, to harness our spirit and clearly envision real sustainability. Through singing, composition, and production, I hope to support this process. Each of my songs seeks to convey a particular emotional experience, each deeply linked to the environment. In the past 2 years, I've written 15 songs which draw from a wide variety of musical influences and tell different stories, but are nevertheless linked by messages of environmental awareness, healing, and peace. Multiculturalism is an essential element of this music, and these compositions therefore seek to question some of the borders which currently strain our world. Unfortunately, there is not time in this presentation for me to play an extended sample of this music, so I will have to content myself with describing these songs to you. My first album, Emerge, consists of 6 songs. An Andean-inspired homage to the alpaca, a Carnatic Kriti for Ganesha, reinterpreted as a call for conservation, a Latin ballad about a forest fire, a ballad about a forest fire arranged for a Latin Caribbean ensemble, Medianoche, a Sufi and jazz-inspired piece dedicated to a tropical nighttime shore, This I Know, a soul song, and Port Meadow, which I will play for you at the end of this presentation. The second album, Wayfinder, is dedicated to the immense ecological and emotional palette of the ocean. It begins with a multilingual invocation in Sanskrit, Italian, Spanish, and English, inviting us to return to the sea. 8 instrumental pieces follow. There is an Indo-bluesy song dedicated to whales, and then a chill-hop type piece for baby sea turtles. After that, a dusky number motivated by the human encounters which have taken place at sea, and a flute-led song inspired by the Polynesian voyaging canoe, Hokulea. Wayfinder also includes 4 pieces intended to convey the expansiveness of the ocean, its mysteries, its myths, and its horizons. Kinship, wonder, and justice are running threads in this music. This music is also dedicated to the global ethic which we need in a time of climate change. We need to connect to the most soulful ideas, beauty, and wisdom among us, hence the name Climate Soul. We need to look for leadership among those who best understand the earth, in indigenous knowledge systems, for instance, and living traditions of stewardship. And lastly, we must find strength and sensitivity. We must cast aside cynicism and allow ourselves to be moved, softened, and improved by our encounters with life on this planet. With this in mind, I'd like to conclude with a song set in a meadow adjacent to the libraries, colleges, and chapels of Oxford University, where in many ways this project was born. According to legend, Port Meadow has not been plowed in over 4,000 years, making it one of Britain's oldest areas of common land. Port Meadow is a place of peace, and therefore, at the end of last year, I put together this video as a gesture of peace for our fraught world. May places like this bring us back to the sustainability and interconnectedness which exists, waiting, and growing within us. Thank you. summer day,